In this show, I've got one of my favorite guys from America, Frederick Van Johnson.
Oh, and he's awesome. I love Fred. He's such an amazing guy. And he's gonna tell you a little story about skydiving with George W.
And he's going to inspire us with a once-in-a-lifetime image.
And he's going to talk about how he creates with 4K video and punching it out.
Punching it in.
Okay. Anyway, he's going to be punching. All right, and here's the interview that Brent did with Fred in
San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
The SIC Show. Share, inspire, create.com.
All right, guys, so here I've got one of my great friends, Frederick Van Johnson, and we've got the stadium behind us, the
Giant Stadium. This is AT&T Park in San Francisco.
Awesome, and I'm going to ask him a couple of questions about what he's got to share with us, how he can inspire us, and you can show us something that you used to create with. So,
okay, assuming I can inspire, we'll see.
Well, I'm sure you can. So welcome to the show, Frederick.
Thanks, man. It's a pleasure to be here, and welcome to California.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love San Francisco. It's awesome.
It's cool. San Francisco loves you too. It's good. Just be careful.
Share.
A couple of years ago, I had a chance to go skydiving with the Golden Knights. So my friend John P. called me up one day and he's like, "Hey Frederick, you want to come out to Texas and jump out of an airplane and skydive?" I've never skydived before. Even though I was in the Air Force, I never had a chance to actually jump out of a plane. So I said, you only live once, why not? So I went. Best experience of my life. I got a chance to hang out with the United States Army Golden Knights. We went up in the plane after some short training. They outfitted me with the same jumpsuit and parachute that they put on George Bush, the dad, W, So I had that parachute on it, and the same guy that tandem jumped with George Bush was attached to me. So I was like, okay, if it's good enough for George Bush, good enough for me. I had the presidential parachute on. So jumped out of the plane. I'll tell you, the scariest part of jumping out of a plane for me was the ride up. Knowing that you would not be coming down in that airplane was the scariest thing in the world. So we went up to whatever altitude, I forget what the altitude was. We went up there and every fiber, when they open the doors up and it's time to jump out, every fiber of my being was like, don't jump out of this plane. Self-preservation, survival of the fittest, fight or flight, all that stuff kicked in and my body was like, I am not going out of the plane. Only reason I went out of that plane was because the guy was attached to me and pushed me out of the plane. So I went out, first couple of seconds was just sheer terror and fright, and then it was over. Then I was like, I'm flying, I'm flying and there's Earth. I can see the curvature of the Earth and we're just hitting terminal velocity, heading towards the ground, and he pulled the thing, we stopped, or slowed down, coasted down to the ground, and I got out, and the first thing out of my mouth was, let's do it again. I wanted to do it again because, I think, I haven't done it again since, but I think if I was to go do it again, it would be so much easier because I lived, and it was, so that's my funny story.
Awesome, great, love it. Okay, another funny story, another interesting fact about yourself.
Okay, interesting fact about myself. Okay, so this was a little embarrassing, but I will share it with you anyway. So I was in the United States Air Force way back in the day. We were shooting film back then, and I was new to the base. This is this is Yokota Air Force Base, or Air Base in Tokyo. So I got sent out on this job to take photos of this general pinning an award on someone. So I'm a new photographer, by the way. I got this bag full of Nikon gear I had no idea how to use. So I put everything together. I'm like, how hard could it be? I put my film in there. I go out to shoot this grip and grin ceremony, and it was outdoor in front of a plane or something. So I go out and I shoot it. I got it, General. I had 2 camera bodies with me, by the way. I was using one camera body. Turns out I had loaded the film into the other camera body. But get this, I realized that I didn't have film in the camera while they were standing in front of me and I was shooting. So I was taking photos and sort of just pantomiming the act of taking photos with the general. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, turn to the left a little, yeah, click. All right, wait, you blinked, let me get it warmed up, click. knowing in my head that when I got back to the office that I was gonna tell them that something happened to the film. Something happened in processing and got destroyed. We're gonna have to reshoot. So I knew I was gonna have to make up this story about reshooting this thing while I was taking these fake photos. So from that point forward, that day forward, I never forgot to put film in my camera ever again. So that's my story.
Awesome. So tell me, what is a grip and grin?
A grip and grin is this. Yeah, when you do this. That's a grip and grin. Or you do this and you have a plaque and you hold it up like this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a grip and grin.
So you didn't get fired for that?
I didn't get, no one ever knew.
Oh, you can't get fired out of the Air Force.
You can get fired out of the Air Force.
Can you?
Yeah, you can get kicked out. But
Right.
I did not get kicked out for this. This was a, no one ever knew until now. Film gets messed up all the time,
yeah,
you
no,
know?
the lab.
I was the lab. So
Yeah,
something happened in processing. I'm so sorry, but we'll redo it. So
great.
they understood. They're like,
I
yeah,
love that.
it
Love
happens.
that story.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I never admitted mistake until now, several decades later.
Inspire.
Okay, so there's this one image that I'm really proud of, and it's one of the first images that I ever took as a professional photographer, again in the military way back in the day, and it was at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So it was a graduation ceremony, and these graduation ceremonies, they rehearse them, and you have, you know, this audience full of friends and family of the cadets, and you have all the cadets in their dress blues, and we knew what was going to happen. We knew that the Air Force Thunderbirds were going to fly over and all this stuff. So we did the rehearsal the day before, so I was ready. We go out there, and I had my position, had my fisheye lens on my camera. I was ready to take this photo, and I got it. You know, it was by virtue of having prepared and mentally got myself ready for it. I sat myself right on the corner there, aimed had my exposure, everything ready. It was a backlit scene, so I knew I had to open up a little bit, you know, everything was all good. And when the general that was announcing the ceremony said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you the newest additions to the United States Air Force, blah, 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 blah. These cadets are now officers." On cue, the Thunderbirds fly over, making, it's like four or five of them. Thunderbirds fly over, making all this noise. The Air Force band starts playing, and all the cadets jump into the air and throw their hats in the air all at the same time. Because I was practicing, and we had practiced the day before, I got it. And I got like 5 images. I was in continuous high. I was like, brrr, and I got it. And this was slide film. So it wasn't like there was room for error later. It had to be spot on, nailed, and I got that exposure. And I think the takeaway from that is, for once in a lifetime experiences like that, preparation. Preparation, preparation, preparation. And it reminds me of a story that one of the commanders of the squadron I was in used to tell us about preparation. He used to go back to Lincoln. So when Lincoln was delivering the Gettysburg Address after, the big battle in Gettysburg, the Civil War battle, the photographer that was there, Lincoln, usually there was a guy that spoke before Lincoln that spoke for 2 hours. That was the norm in the day. People would speak for 2 hours. That's how it went. Lincoln gets up there. His Gettysburg Address was about 3 minutes. The photographer spent that 3 minutes fiddling with his bag or whatever, getting his camera ready. And when he was ready to shoot, Lincoln was off the stage already. So preparation, preparation, preparation. That's my takeaway from all that. Okay, so another tip I'd like to share is just sort of building rapport with models. So there's this one particular shot here that, there was this model that I was shooting. I think we went to, it was during a workshop that I did. It was a Mark Dom workshop in Los Angeles. And I went down there to, Mark Dom is a friend of mine, so he invited me down to hang out, do some shots with him, and meet the other workshop attendees and all that, a special guests or whatever. So I went down there, and, I was nervous because this was, it was kind of a risque kind of workshop. It wasn't, it wasn't anything nefarious or anything like that, but it wasn't like your mall portraits, let's say. So, I get in there, and what I learned from doing this photo was, first of all, there's, to that date, I've worked with professional models before, but this model was over the top professional, right? She knew how to pose, she knew She took direction well. She made the photographer's job, our job as the shooters, so much easier. It was hard to take a bad picture of this person because she's attractive, obviously, she's a model, but that only gets you halfway. The other part of it is understanding how to pose and how to take direction from the photographer. This model had it in spades. So working with professional people behind the camera, to the side of the camera, and in front of the camera can make all the difference with your shoots, especially when you're dealing with something, you know, kind of sensitive, like, you know, these kind of photos. So this photo is the model's name is Euphrat, and she's from the Ukraine, I believe. And we rented out this house in Los Angeles, you know, as people in Los Angeles tend to do from time to time for these kind of shoots. So the photographer, Mark Don, rented out this house. It's a mansion, essentially. And the type of photography that I like to do, I don't want to do like straight nude or anything like that. I wanted just sexy, you know. So she was topless, but I had her behind a curtain, a sheer curtain, kind of holding the curtain in front of her, kind of obscuring herself, but the curtain was sheer, so you could kind of get an idea of what was going on. And I like, for me, the type of photography that I like to do, I like, if it's that genre, I want it suggestive, but not explicit. So this made it suggestive and explicit, plus the expression on her face. Again, she's a professional model, so she struck the perfect kind of Mona Lisa, smiling but not smiling, seductive but not too seductive, while doing the perfect pose. Lighting was set, we had giant soft boxes in there, click the shutter, everybody was happy.
So how many people were at this workshop?
This workshop, I think there was about 12 people.
So 12 guys
Yep.
photographing one model at the same time?
Not at the same time, we took turns. So we had multiple models. So I think we had 2 or 3 models there. So we broke up into groups, and Mark had different sets around the house. So there was like this particular set, and then there was another set by a piano in the living room, and then there was a bedroom set, you know, for the catty, sexy stuff, you know, and you just kind of rotate around and get your shot. And then when you're not shooting, you're assisting the other photographers, like, you know, and sort of, you know, collaborating and you know, just sort of taking tips and giving tips on how to do the shot.
And I want to second that. Dealing with professional people. I mean, how professional is Frederick, eh?
I'm a ham.
Dude, I wished I could talk like you could. You
What,
can,
just yammer at the camera looking at some glass right there?
Yeah, you know, with people walking up and down, planes flying over us.
Doesn't bother me.
That's
I'm in my own world, man.
You-
I am a content creator.
Yeah, I know,
I am content personified.
You're awesome. Can you teach me?
I can.
Okay.
You don't need deep teaching. You have an awesome accent, dude. You can do whatever you
really?
want to do. You could say the ABCs and it sounds good.
Good day, mate.
I can't do it. Good day.
Create.
All right. Well, the object of my desire here is this Panasonic GH4. And why is this the object of my desire? Now, I have DSLRs. I have Nikon D3, Nikon D7000, you know, and all the lenses that go with those guys. And I love my Nikons. I used to shoot with those in the Air Force all the time. Bulletproof gears. DSLRs rock, you know, you can't say anything negative except about the size and the weight. And in this case, video in 4K, right? So with this guy, this Panasonic GH4, what this allows me to do is kind of push forward the idea of multimediography. And what does multimediography mean? Essentially, I think it means it's the idea of we as photographers are now tasked to do and capture many kinds of data, right? Whether it just be still photography or audio, like we're doing here, capturing audio, putting it together in different ways, video, all that stuff. This does all of those things magically. It shoots 4K, which means I can shoot 4K video and extract 8 megapixel stills from each frame of video out of this. Now, that's not gonna be good for everything that you wanna do, but for a lot of things, it's awesome, you know, especially for online sharing. It's brilliant that you can do that. Also with 4K, on this particular camera, 4K means a giant frame of resolution, right? So, or 4,000 pixels across. What I can do with this guy is I can shoot, say I'm gonna do a video of Brent here. I can shoot a video of Brent, and then later in post-production, when I'm in Premiere or Final Cut, I can zoom in on him with only one camera, right? Because I have so much resolution, I can do what they call punching in. So I can punch in and add that visual interest back and forth. When he says cool things, I can go in and out from one file, where you can do that before. Because 4K is so big, I'm using a lot of resolution, but I'm only outputting to regular 1080 resolution or regular HD resolution. So that gets me excited about this. And I was saying the fact that it's just so little, it's so light, and I can do things like articulate the LCD around and do things like that. For me and for the stuff that I do, this camera, even though it's micro four thirds, it has a micro four thirds sensor in there, which is smaller, obviously, than the full frame sensors or even the APS-C sensors. This sensor gives me all the data I need to do everything that I need to do today. Now, if I was going to go out, like say Karen Hutton, and do landscapes in Tahoe or in the Grand Canyon or something, I could do them with this, but I would probably opt for a full frame camera, especially if I'm going to make giant Karen Hutton style wall prints from it. So, but for the stuff that I do, online, multimedia, shooting video, occasionally sharing online, maybe making a print up to 16 by 20 or 20 by 24, this gets the job done. So, and this is for me the ideal multimediographer camera right now.
What lens have you got on there?
Right now, this is the 12 to 35 f2.8 Panasonic. It's an image stabilized zoom lens. It's part of Panasonic's Pro lens series. So, and this is my general purpose lens. I keep it on here all the time. I have a macro lens in my bag. I've got a longer lens in there, and I'm pretty much covered.
So when you're shooting video, are you shooting at 2.8?
Usually I'm shooting at 2.8. Yeah.
You don't find the shallow depth of field is too shallow?
No. Especially if I'm back far enough. So go back a little bit further and zoom in a little bit, and then the depth of field, the amount of depth of field is deeper when you're on micro four thirds, obviously, and that's one of the quote negatives of micro four thirds, making it's harder to get that bokeh, the blurry background. But for video, it's a plus because you don't want people falling out of focus if they do this, right? Yes, exactly. You don't want them out of focus like this. See, out of focus?
No.
In focus.
I'm shooting 4.5, so hopefully.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is good. And then, like I was saying, it's just tiny and it's easy to use. And, one other quick thing about these cameras is the cameras are very personal, right? And they're all different. They all feel different in your hands. And the menuing system on all these cameras is different as well. And one menuing system, the camera itself ergonomically may work for you, but the menuing system may suck for you, for your brain. For me, I found that the ergonomics of these cameras, the Panasonic cameras, and the menuing system or the operating system in here click with my head, and I'm able to get around really fast and get to where I need to go really quickly, which is important when you don't want to miss the shot, right?
So, here we go.
Wow.
So, all right, so
Look at that.
Well, let's compare bags for doing the same thing. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is mine. And here's all my stuff back here, another camera and a few lenses and things.
Yep.
Frederick's got everything that he needs in there.
Everything in here, several lenses, another camera, and an iPad, all in here. Audio gear, I've got a digital audio recorder with microphones, everything right there.
Amazing. I think I need to give that a test run.
You should shoot some footage with
Do
this.
you think they'll send me one?
They might.
Oh.
They might?
Ask him.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you just take this one?
Okay, I'll have it. I don't think I got any more carry-on luggage that I can take back to Australia.
You could just sell that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a quick tip on how to grow your following online. A lot of people see, people like Trey Radcliffe or Karen Hutton or whomever with these millions of people that are following them. And you're like, I only have 100 people following me. How do I get from 100 to 5 million? It's ridiculous. I can't do that. The best way that I can tell you is, we live in kind of a content society right now. You may have heard the term content marketing. And generally that means is you got to give a little to get a little, right? So if you put compelling content online, people will come consume it. You can't proceed with the mindset of, okay, I'm just going to start a Twitter profile and wait, and people will come, or I'm going to pick pictures of my cat up there, then people will follow me, or I'm going to complain about the president and people will follow me. No one wants to hear that stuff. If your target group of people that you're trying to reach is photographers, give them substantive content. If it's Twitter, point to articles, be a curator, point to cool content that they might like, and then you will become a source, and they're like, okay, it makes sense for me to follow this guy because he's always posting cool articles. If it's on, say, Facebook, write a post that talks about some technique or give your opinion on some artist or some piece of work or some gear or something. add to the sum total of human knowledge instead of taking away from it. Once you start doing that, you become known as a person that is actually adding and not subtracting, and then you draw followers, just like that. It's really just that simple.
How often should you post?
The how often should you post question is tricky. The answer is it depends, right? So for me personally, I don't post that much because I'm not trying to be prolific, and I don't want a chronology of my life online, right? So people don't know every little move I make, every bite of food I take, all that stuff. That sounds like a song, doesn't it? Didn't Sting record that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So, I typically post when I have something substantive to say. Like, we're recording a cool interview. I don't do this every day, so I'm gonna post a picture of Brent recording me out here in San Francisco. That I feel like that's kind of cool, and I want to post that, and I might say a little something about it. We're recording video, he's using a DSLR, and I was bragging about my smaller mirrorless camera. That sparks a conversation, right? It's not just willy-nilly stuff. But it depends on, like, when I say it depends on what your end goal is. If you are just a person that is an individual, you're not trying to build a giant following, or you just want people to comment on your photography, or maybe you're a business. The different goals dictate the frequency of your posting. If you're just an individual like me and you're not trying to do business type stuff per se on your social media, then post whenever you feel like it, right? But make sure you post substantive stuff when you post. If you are a business, then also post content, real content that adds to the sum total of human knowledge, but have a schedule. Like, say every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we post things, and maybe use some sort of scheduling software so that you can bulk load them. You can spend couple days writing out 20 or 30 posts, queue them up, and let them go out over time. If you're a business, I don't recommend that flow for the individual or people that are trying to build that one-on-one contact with your followers. But if you're a business and you just want to maintain that continuity or the contact with your audience, and you don't have the time or the bandwidth or the personnel to be in there tweeting all the time, then automate it. And there's a lot of tools that let you do that.
Awesome. What would you say about trolls?
All trolls must die. No. Kill the trolls. So trolls, I get trolls too, and it's generally, there's different kinds of trolls. Like, there's patent trolls, and then there's just social media trolls. A social media or an online troll is generally somebody that hides behind their computer and tries to say inflammatory or negative things to bait you into responding so that you are now engaged in a conversation with them. Especially if you have a large following and they have a small following, they want to engage you so that now they're in front of your large following. So that's a troll. The way I deal with troll is, depending on the severity of what they post, I will either just ignore them if it's just something benign, but if they say something that's rude or inflammatory or racist or just completely wrong, I have no problem with banning and just getting people off my social media, period. My ban finger is itchy. I will ban all day long with no conscience, because I look at it like social media is kind of like my house. This is my house. If you come to my house and you make a mess, I'm not going to invite you to my house again. It's just like that. And, if you make a big mess, I'm going to ban you from coming anywhere near my house, So that's just like social media. If you can't behave, then don't come.
Well, thanks, Frederick. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I just want to say one thing more about trolls, because I heard an online guru once say this. He said, when you get a troll, you know you've made it, because then you've been noticed. So if you do get a troll, congratulations.
Well, then I must have made it several times over. Because I need some troll away.
I love banning. Ban.
I love it, man. It makes me feel good to ban.
Totally.
It's like, I don't respond. Like, a lot of people will respond. No. I know some photographers will respond and shoot a torpedo back and then ban.
Oh, really?
I just don't ban, period. I don't respond. I was like, okay, you said that, fine, goodbye. Yeah,
totally. So next time, when you come to Australia, I'll let you buy me the beer.
You got it.
Okay, at my local.
At your watering hole?
My watering hole, and we've got a really good watering hole. I'll show you pictures of it later.
I'm in.
So yeah.
I need God. What's that stereotypical phrase that people say, Australians say? Throw something on the barbie. What
Yeah,
is it?
shrimp on the barbie,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah. Can we throw another shrimp on the barbie, mate?
That's it. Awesome.
Cool, man.
Thanks, Frederick.
You're welcome.
Should we give that?
Wait, grip and grin. Peace.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
Thank you.
Oh man, how was that show?
Oh man, he is awesome. I love that guy. Fan him.
And I'm getting pushed out the airplane with
Oh,
George W. Bush's.
Jumpsuit.
Oh.
And the guy who took George W. Bush over. It's amazing, man. He said his heart nearly stopped when he jumped out or something, and when he reached the ground, he's like, "Let's do it again. Let's do it again." It's
no.
crazy, man. Have you ever
Crazy.
been skydiving, bro? I haven't.
Yes, and you know what was the scariest thing about my attempt when I skydived in South Africa?
What's that, mate?
Was when you climb into the airplane, you know, you got your jumpsuit on, your parachute and everything, and you climb in and you see the pilot wearing a parachute.
Oh no! Are you serious?
It doesn't give me a lot of confidence. You know?
I'd be like, hell no, man. I'm not going with this dude.
And
amazing.
the pilot says to us, he says, if something happens to the airplane below 1,000 feet, I'll try and land it. Above 1,000 feet, we all out.
Oh,
Crazy.
there's no way.
And how was that image that Freddie got?
Amazing! That once in a lifetime chance, sort of everything was set up. The hats were in the air, and the Thunderbirds went over. Mate, that. If I was starting out in photography and I had to shoot something like that, my heart would be like, "Oh, it's coming! I know it's coming!"
Yeah.
And you'd be checking your exposure and double checking and triple checking your composition. Amazing, Freddie. Awesome
Totally.
image.
And I think the lesson from that is preparation, man.
It is,
Getting
yep.
everything ready before it happens.
Yep, always be ready and know exactly, you know, obviously he's done some scouting and he's had a look around and he's framed up, so that's, it's key,
Awesome.
man. Awesome, good job with that.
Good.
image.
And what about the 4K video and punching in?
Man, you know what? I'm upgrading my camera. I want 4K video on my camera, you know? It's amazing, these new cameras from Nikon and Canon that are just released lately, still no 4K. Still only 1080, you know, like we're screaming for 4K.
I know.
4K is coming. So,
Yeah.
and the fact you can zoom in, and I didn't realize it because I've never done the maths with the pixels, but you can take an 8 megapixel still
From video.
From video.
It's crazy.
That is crazy. I mean, you're
Yeah.
not going to print a huge billboard, but 8 megapixels is still amazing.
Yeah, so next time you shoot a wedding,
Yeah.
you just have a tripod with a 4K video camera just going full, you know, and you won't miss
Yeah,
anything.
let me know how that goes.
Oh,
mate.
okay. I don't shoot no more weddings.
No more weddings. Hell no. And I wouldn't touch a wedding ever.
No, awesome.
So, anyway.
Yeah, good, guys.
Yeah, you go.
Oh, okay. Make sure you check out Frederick's new TWIP website. It's looking awesome. Man.
Yeah, so This Week in Photography was a podcast. It's been going for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the show's in the 300s or something. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome show. But yeah, he's got a brand new website. Check out the URL here. Yeah, check it out because he's got some new podcasts that's syndicating all on the one website.
Totally.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I need coffee.
And he's got a great community, so get in there and check it out.
Yeah, and he's a great guy too. You know,
totally.
like he's just, he's just awesome.
And Freddie, thanks for showing me a little bit of a part of your world, San Francisco. I loved it.
Yeah, I was so jealous. I wish I was there. I was so jealous. All right, guys. As always, if you want to leave us some feedback on the blog post in a comment. And if you've subscribed in iTunes and you love what we do, leave us a comment there. That helps us a lot. We really appreciate it, don't we, buddy?
Totally.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Take
Cheers.
care.
To find out more, go to shareinspirecreate.com.